Smoke it.
Rob, how are we doing?
Brilliant. We've got the earphones on, which makes the sound a little bit better, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're doing our best, aren't we?
We're doing our best. Cabin fever. I've literally got cabin fever because I'm in the shed.
You are in the shed?
Yeah, I'm in the shed. We've got some topics to talk about last time. We'll obviously always also have a general chat.
Yeah.
I think because it's pretty current, let's talk about Dennis White.
Yeah.
Dennis White's been poorly, hasn't he? You probably know a little bit more than me.
Yeah. We've got a Barnsley Blacks WhatsApp group. Let me just switch it on to the speaker view. We've got Barnsley Blacks sort of WhatsApp group, and I get in daily updates from the guys there who are in regular contact with Dennis. And he's been in hospital for it wasn't coronavirus linked. It was just he was in hospital. I think it was for some sort of operation or something. And he's fairly ill while he was in there. I don't know the exact details, so I don't want to misquote or anything. But I don't think he's ended up with COVID-19, but he's had some, a bit of a bad turn and stuff. But I've had a message this morning saying that he's doing much better over the last couple of days, which is great news. Hopefully, a speedy recovery for Dennis. Obviously, a Barnsley Blacks teammate, the OG of the Barnsley Blacks, really.
Yeah.
What an angler, what a guy.
It seems like he's been around for ever. Dennis does, doesn't it?
Still winning matches to this day. Incredible angler.
Where's he go? The Calder, isn't it? He goes on the Calder a lot.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
The Calder, the U's, the River Air.
They're not little matches, are they? 60 peggers, every single one of them.
It's like the same 60 guys. It's like they go around all them that circuit. Right. It's like Air and Calder Canal, River Calder, River Air, River Ooze. Some great anglers, and they've done it for years.
Right. And he wins much more than his fair share.
Yeah. Frightening. What an angler. Yeah. But so I think you'll join me in saying wish him a speedy recovery.
Yeah. Get well soon, Dennis. Definitely.
Yeah, nice.
Obviously, it's terrible, isn't it? The old corona. We just don't know whether you come in and go in, or what you can do, or whether you see people going into hospital and you think, oh, they're going to get poorly, or you just don't know. Terrible.
It is. It's very sad. But we're in this for the long haul, aren't we? So we've got to just keep our chins up.
The more I look at it, I think we are in it for a while. I don't think it's going to go away for a few weeks or even months. I don't. It's we're like this for a while. So
but we're not gonna dwell on it today. I don't think. Let's try not to dwell on it. But get well soon, Dennis. That's the main thing.
Perfect. Do you want to jump into some questions? And we'll see how we go.
No, hang on. I've got to apologise.
Go on.
I'll hold my hand up. I fucked up.
Yeah.
I dropped an F-bomb in there. My old mate Macca.
Yeah.
I upset him last week.
Macca's a good lad.
Yeah, of course he is the best.
Yeah.
And I said something probably a bit insensitive looking back.
Right.
Tried to get in touch with him, but he won't answer me calls or texts.
Oh, no.
So, apologise, mate, obviously. Don't want to upset you.
So that's another shout out for Macca. But I think
we need to get him on.
Yeah, we need to get him on because he's
he needs to answer his phone first.
Yeah, he needs to answer his phone. So I'm sure Macca will be fine because he's a cracking bloke. I can't remember what we were talking about, but it was obviously he took offence to it, hasn't it? So.
Yeah, and it was insensitive on my part because obviously people are trying to work and do the best for their families. And
yeah, Macca will understand. We're only taking the piss. Macca will understand. Right. Get all that soppy stuff out of the way. So you've got a list.
Ring me back.
You've got a list of questions. I want you to.
Obviously, these are just general chit chats, aren't they?
They are.
We just want to catch up, and if we can answer a few questions for people as well, then even better.
Yeah.
As well as keeping our morale high.
But what I liked is there was a really good feedback from the last one that we did. So I like it when, especially on this sort of thing, people get involved. What I don't like, this is something that I don't like. I don't like the negativity. When you put something on YouTube, I mean, obviously everyone's entitled to their say. You put a video up there, and sometimes you take a long while editing it and going over it and making it look nice. But sometimes, as we did last week, it's just a case of getting something done and getting something current and getting something up quite quick because we feel it's current and relative to the time. And I don't think we had any negativity last week, but you do get the odd idiot. And luckily for most of you guys out there watching it, you don't see it because me and Joe will quickly hit the delete button and ban user straight away if it's something ridiculous. And you get some ridiculous comments, don't you?
Yeah,
Absolutely
but
ridiculous.
it has to be said, like 95% of it is very positive in it.
I'd say 99%.
Probably 99%.
One idiot.
One idiot, but it's amazing, isn't it? It must be in your psyche. Like that one idiot can ruin it for you, can't it? Because you're like, oh, blooming heck. Oh, one thumbs down. You're like, God, crap video that. But it wasn't. No. It's just someone might have had a bad morning.
Yeah, so what I liked about this is there was loads of positivity, loads of comments, and people actually wanting to get involved with positive stuff. Yeah. Not just, you bunch of idiots, why don't you go,
which we are.
Fishing. Yeah, we are. Yeah, there's no problem with that.
No getting away from it.
Yeah, call a spade, you can't.
But, we're just trying to do what we can and try and, if we can put a smile on a few people's faces and give them something to listen to, isn't it?
So, positivity in those comment section. If you want to get involved, if you want to ask questions,
get the questions in.
Obviously, subscribing, I always go on about it, but subscribing is massive. Helps both of us out massively. And it's free of charge to do. And obviously, while we're all stuck inside for a long time, I think videos, maybe fishing videos, are going to keep us, give us our fishing fix every now and again. It's not just our own videos that we watch. We subscribe to a lot of other guys' channels, find it interesting. Seeing what they're doing and how they're fishing and getting, it feels like you're on the bank fishing. Then you get a little bit of a fix out of it. So lots of positivity, ladies and gents. That's what I'd like to see. Ladies and gents, here's another one: 5% female following.
Amazing, isn't it?
On my channel now, 5%.
5%. That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, but I thought it was good. But then I realised that a lot of blokes are probably watching it in their wife's
because they
on their wife's laptop, aren't they? Yeah. So I was on a little bit of a high. Then my wife reminded me, and they were probably watching it on the wife's computer. And I, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, come on.
Go on, then ask me a question. I'm going to make sure my phone's plugged in.
Just a quick one.
Hang on. Yeah.
Well, I've got to mention, because obviously we've been doing a lot of these sort of bits and bobs. I've been doing them on the Preston channel, which people have been enjoying. The Dead Ship one I did last week was fantastic. But I also did that Facebook Live for Tom Scully's Catch More Media last week on Friday night. Really enjoyable. A 1 hour live chat. Yeah. Really hard to do that they are, actually. I know it might sound, it might seem like pretty comfortable and easy to do, but it's quite hard to chat for an hour.
Yeah.
But I hope everyone enjoyed it. And big shout out to Tom for letting me do that.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it. It was good. I thought it was good.
Cheers.
As long as the questions keep coming in and flowing, I think it works really well.
Yeah, that's the key for all that game, isn't it?
It's nice to see how people are preparing stuff and actually in their little environment. It's nice to see what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's what those little videos are there to do.
Yeah, so it's all good. And a lot of questions through that I couldn't go into much detail with. So again, we can have a little look at some.
Touch on them. Go on then. Go on. Ask us. Get some questions. You've got the sheet.
Shock leaders. Everybody seems to want to know about shock leaders. I use them all the time. You use them all the time. Talk me through it.
I think the only time I don't use a shock leader now is when I'm summer carping at short range. So
using like £5, £6 line.
I use £8 and £10 line.
Yeah.
I think the heavier line just minimises any chance of getting broken or obviously cracking off when you're chucking. I think it's much easier to work with and it lays better once you've got it down underneath the water. So I just like it for robustness. So if I'm going to Mallory Park or where it's open and cage feeder fishing or method feeder fishing at sort of like 30 meters and shorter, it's straight through and it's £8, £10 line. I use that M-Tech line, which is fantastic. Yeah. I don't know what that marks up at actually. Hang on a second.
Have you got it? Have you worked out? Rob's just gone to go and grab some line. He's on MIDI M-Tech. Here he comes. As if by magic.
As if by magic. The £8 marks up at 0.22 and I think the £10, if I remember, is 0.25 or 26. So obviously a mega strong line.
Yeah.
And you're just never going to have any problems with it. Also, the end rig that you're tying is nice and stiff, as you sort of alluded to.
That's the big one for me, I think.
Yeah, I know that you're massive. Now, I'll let you talk about. No, hang on. I'll let you talk about your short shockers in a minute because I want to talk about. Then I would just want to go on to when I'd use a normal shocker because I'm not a massive short shocker guy.
No.
When I'm then fishing at longer range for bigger fish, I want some strength when I'm playing a fish under my feet. So I want the shock leader not to be on my reel when I'm playing a fish at netted range. But I want to be able to cast the distance, and I just don't want a really long length of really heavy line. So what I'll do then is I'll use the 10 pound in that M-Tex and then attach it to the braid, and I'll do 6 big arm spans. So I'm sure that's 6 foot each time, nearly 6 foot each time. So you're talking about just around 35 foot of line. That ensures that when you net a fish, you've got plenty on your reel, and it ensures that when you chuck out, obviously the knot's on the reel.
Yeah.
I use a 3 and 4 turn water knot, depending on whether I'm braid or mono. 4 if I'm going to braid, 3 if I'm mono to mono. And that's my shot leaders. The important thing is robustness and that stiff bit of line for your rig.
Yeah.
Because then you get less tangles, which brings you on to your style of shock leader, I think.
Yeah, obviously, if I'm using like distance master style rods and, you know, fishing at ferry meadows and places like that where you're chucking a long way with bigger feeders, then I use a 7-meter shock leader, like what you do.
Yeah, similar.
But when I'm fishing short range, like we have done at Allcroft all winter, Bast, and anywhere I'm fishing sort of a cage feeder at, you know, less than 30 meters, I don't really want to use a shock leader, if I'm honest, but I still want that stiffness in my rig. As in the twizzle boom. I find that because I'm using 4 or 5 pound line, the twizzle boom isn't quite stiff enough for what I want. So what I use instead is a 1 meter shock leader of 15 pound line. So as you can see there, can you see that, Rob?
So it's mega stiff, yeah.
Mega stiff.
So like me, you're not bothered about that stiff bit of line being near your rig,
not
being
at
near
all.
your hook.
No,
yeah.
not at
because
all.
I think your hook length's 50 centimeters minimum away usually, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. And all I want is the anti-tangle properties that gives me. So I just use a 1 meter length of that, just barbel line, and that's it. And
okay, just quickly touch on that rig, because obviously that's a nice simple rig.
Yeah, very simple.
People still get confused with rigs, and often the simplest is the best. And this is the rig that I sort of use. I'd probably substitute that. If you've got a rubber there, I'd use 2 stops, but they're exactly the same as that.
Yeah, I've always used 2 stops, number 8 stops, but I've just got these to test out, so I'm using them. A rubber stop. So it's a little bit less weight, if anything, but that's all. And all it is a swivel on the line, a rubber stop or 2 stops, whichever one you prefer, and then about a 4-inch twizzle boom with a loop in the end, and that's it.
Yeah. Simplest rig, and you attach your hook length to the loop and you feed it to the link.
Yeah, exactly that. And
because obviously links and all these sort of things are amazing to use for certain situations, for bite detection, hitting your bites, things like that. But they cause problems. They cause problems with tangles, don't they? Especially at long distance. So that is as simple as it gets. That's what I use. That's the rig I use.
I mean, if I didn't have to use that, I mean, you could do anything with that, couldn't you? Go the glebe, carp fishing, skimmer fishing, bream fishing.
Joe,
anything.
It's my waggler rig. I put a slot shot or a rubber on the other side of that swivel,
and it becomes a waggler rig.
And that's my waggler rig. Yeah, I put that on my float rods and then just alter the hook length length by cutting the hook length down.
So that's how simple it needs to be, guys. If you want a simple rig, it doesn't get any simpler than that. No. I think that's quite important though, Rob. The length of that, personally.
The boom.
Yeah, I remember watching. I don't want to shout out, give a shout out, but I went pleasure fishing with Dan Webb from Match Fishing Magazine once.
Yeah.
And he had one. It was really long.
Yeah.
It was like 30 centimeters.
And it was too limp.
And he was like, well, surely you want it hanging below the feeder, but I just don't agree with that. I think it causes more problems. I think you just want something that's nice and stiff. Perfect that.
Yeah, 4 inch maybe, 4 inch.
4 inch. Perfect.
Yeah, I've gone even shorter. Say if I'm using a 7-inch hook length on maybe a bomb rig in summer, I'll use a little inch long, little stubby. Yeah, and it's just a nice little stiff bit of line to kick your hook length away.
Yeah, so that's it. But that's shock lead, isn't it? What material do you use? £10, did you say?
I use £10, yeah, just £10, and occasionally I'll go really heavy. Say if I'm fishing at a massive distance, I'll go £15, you know, like you, sort of 032, 033, something like that.
Here's a question for you then. Would you ever use a fluorocarbon shocker? Because I know you lure fish a lot and use fluorocarbon a lot.
I would love to use a fluorocarbon shocker, and you've got no idea how many times I've put it on my reel and took it out casting, and then took it back off my reel because it's sprung off the reel a little bit too much. And it was maybe if there's some guys who use fluorocarbon a lot, maybe some carp anglers out there who have got used to it, but I've got access to some fantastic fluorocarbon, and it feels as limp as a mono on the spool. Don't know whether it needs soaking or whether just that's naturally fluorocarbon, because obviously I'm going for 030 again. A nice thick fluorocarbon, but it just peels off the spool too much.
Yeah, I remember when I was bringing Alex Bones back into the conversation that we did last week. He had brought us a load of line in once that he had from test when he was at Guru, and it was fluorocarbon real line that he wanted to bring out under the match banner. And he says he couldn't use it because it was too stiff and springy. And I tried it. I thought, oh, brilliant! I want this. It's an edge. And I put it on my reels, and it was unusable.
There's been venues that I've been to where I think the line in the water is massive when you feeder fishing. As you know, I love to take my line out of the water. I love to fish short for half an hour, then go and chuck long again. And I feel the fish congregate back into your peg. And I think that's the line going through the water. Now, I'm not too sure whether that's because they feel the tension in the water of a line, which I think they certainly do, because obviously tight lines. Yeah. A lot of anglers know now that tight lines are just a no-no in the water.
Scary,
I'm sure they feel the tension in the water. But do they know the line's there? Is a fluorocarbon, especially on that last metre or so, does the fluorocarbon sink better? Is it going to be less visible?
I'll speak to Des about this, and Will Raisin swears by it, and I know other anglers do.
I've seen Rooney with a short shocker.
Shocker. So I often wonder whether my 1 metre shock leader would be better in fluoro, maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
I think if I was doing your 1 metre shocker, I think maybe I would.
Yeah, maybe.
I think I'd give it a go.
Maybe it's
obviously, when we're lure fishing, I just know that I don't know if it's the stiffness for hitting bites or whether they just don't see the line, because obviously it's a very visual thing. Fluorocarbon outfishes mono every time.
Yeah, every time.
So it's got benefits.
Yeah. I always remember that hiding a line business. I always remember we were chatting, weren't we, the other day with Lee Kerry about Woodlands Thirsk.
Yeah.
And we had a Winter League semi-campaign up there a few years ago. Well, it's 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
And for anyone who doesn't know, they're like rectangular shaped pools with everybody in a line basically on each bank. And there's obviously good areas in the winter, but what used to happen, everyone would chuck out, and it's almost like you could see the fish moving around.
Yeah, you get little liners.
And what I used to do, and I did it, I think I won the practice match the week before, and then I won my section in the actual final. And but both times, basically what I did, I paid out all of my line on the bottom. So I was chucking a method feeder to the middle and leaving it in for half an hour, and I paid out all my line on the bottom, so it was totally slack.
Yeah.
And just leaving it and letting everybody else cast out loads. And the fish were never in front of me at the start, but they'd end up in front of me because my peg was safe. And I remember in the actual final itself, Glenn Lawrence came up to me after 2 hours. He says, "Have you got any yet?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "I'll get on the pole, catch some silvers." And I'm like, no, they'll come. And he's like, "How do you know?" I'm like, they're getting liners. And he's like, "Oh, right." He says, "But you've got to get me one in the next half an hour." And I ended up catching like 15 because they just ended up in front of me. And that was, I'm sure to this day, it's because I was being super stealthy.
Yeah. Well, I think you've just given away way too much there.
That's some years ago, that is.
Yeah, I know it is, but obviously it's still relevant now, isn't it?
Yeah.
That sort of thing that's angling, you know, and yeah, that is proper angling. If you look at a lot of feeder anglers, especially when they're carping, that sort of thing is still relevant today, especially on a self-hooking rig.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're fishing a paternoster, you probably wouldn't have seen a bite, would you?
No, you'd never have seen a bite. Because I always remember the bites were funny because the line was going straight off my tip like that, obviously, and under the water. And the fish must have been on for ages before I seen the bite.
You wouldn't have even seen that first couple of knots.
You see the line almost like rising up out of the water like that, and then your tip goes round. Brilliant fishing. Brilliant.
Yeah. You use a heavy line a bit as well. Do you use a heavy line?
I only ever used to use 8 pound Pro Gold. So whatever that was.
Yeah, heavy line, very heavy line.
So there you go.
I noticed the other night when you were doing your live with Tom, there was a lot of feeder-related questions. So I don't know whether that's...
People love feeder, don't they?
Yeah, they do love feeder.
As we do.
Yeah, I love it. Come on, talk about... I've seen some questions about F1s, though, talking about that.
Yeah, someone actually put on your page last week about just wants to get onto F1 fishing. So I think we want to have a little F1 chat. Yeah,
go on, because you're... We've both had spells at F1s, haven't we? We've both had goes at them.
Probably both got away from it a bit.
Yeah. I think you've got to look at them now as it's carp fishing scaled down, I think it is. And everything just has to be a bit more direct, because if you imagine that the way a carp feed, he picks up a bait, he's more aggressive with it, he sucks it in, maybe even nods his head, then moves away, you get your bite, bigger baits. F1s are very shy, that they'll pick a bait, spit it out. They're very fussy about where they feed, what depths they feed. 2 or 3 inch can make a massive difference with depths and things like that with your rig. So it's just refining your carp approach.
Yeah.
If you're a sort of angler that's got 2 foot of line between your pole tip and float, you're not going to catch a lot of F1s by fishing the same way. You know, you look at a lot of guys and they try and refine everything as much as they can. Yeah. And that's what makes a really good F1 angler. Obviously,
it's the same with any fishing, isn't it, Rob? Because like we're constantly, I know this is a simple rig and we keep going back to it, but how many times have we tried to refine that little rig?
Oh, don't. Yeah.
And it's just a piece of twizzle line and a bead.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And it's the same with the F1 guys, isn't it? The floats are getting more precise, the plumbing up's getting more precise. You see them now; they've got 1 inch intervals marked on the top kit, so that they know to the inch what depth they're catching at for the next time they go.
Because reading a venue, especially when you're F1 fishing, is massive. Because unlike carp, I always think carp are like they're the crappiest people, the crappiest fish to play hide and seek with, because they jump out, the tail sticks out when they're in the edge, they swirl on the surface, and it's just, you know where they are. Like you said, you had liners from them even in the winter time. You know where they are. But an F1,
not like that.
No, you could feed your bait shallow down the middle of a snake lake for half an hour, not see a single swirl, and there could be £100 of F1s 6 inch below the surface.
Yeah,
they're so sharp and cute. F1s are.
Yeah.
So going to a venue, learning the venue, which is why you get quite a few F1 experts. Learning the venue, I think, is massively important. So if you know that you go and fish the Tuesday match and you caught a 3'6" on the shelf, if you go back and fish the match the next day or a couple of days later, chances are the fish are going to be at 3'6" somewhere else in your peg as well.
I think a massive thing as well, because that's obviously skipping ahead a few steps, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think bait choice is massive, and I think if you're just starting F1 fishing, don't get involved with pellets and things like that. Go with maggots. Maggots, because they eat them, they hang on to them a bit more. You can fish. You can get your plumbing up, a bit. I used to fish like that far over depth for them.
Yeah.
That's another day for another story for another day. But that it just it allows you to make a few more mistakes, maggots. Whereas pellets has got to be cock on, hasn't it?
Yeah, pellets have got to be absolutely perfect. And also, I think you can get into a real mess with pellets, especially if you start feeding micros and you overcook it a little bit. Yeah. So for a beginner fishing for F1s, take your maggots. Treat them like very fickle carp.
Yeah.
So float wise, you just need to scale down your float a little bit. You need to dot your float bristles down a little bit. So
use lighter lines.
You might have some floats on your desk. So have you got a carp float and a roach float? I think I have somewhere.
Oh, I'll come back.
Go on. Having been in Joe's little office, I know he's got millions of floats just at the side of him. But generally, I always fish with a Malman Rube, which is a 2mm bristle, which I think Joe's going to show us now for carp fishing, and then a Malman Dusty, which is a 1.5mm bristle for F1s. Just a thinner bristle, because obviously using smaller baits and the fish are feeding a little bit.
Trying to find some of them. There's one. So there you go. So I would have no hesitation whatsoever to use that float there for all my carp fishing.
2mm bristle.
2.5 that
is. Is it? Right, okay.
Nice big thick bristle, lovely. Yep. On the flip side, that's an F1 fine, 1.2mm bristle. Would be absolutely great for F1s at all times of year.
Yeah.
So it's all about refining things, isn't it?
Yeah. And also, let's talk about rigs. So everything needs to be a little bit more direct. So pole tip to float lengths, shorten that down.
As you can. Yeah, short as you can
get without swinging around in the wind and knocking your float around all the time.
Big one, that, because I see people really struggle sometimes.
Yeah. But if it was a flat, calm day, I know you would, and myself as well, we'd have no hesitation fishing 3 inch between a pole tip and float if we could. No. But obviously, short as you could possibly do it with good presentation. Dot the float down. Then let's talk about the business end of the rig, because obviously a carp picks up the bait, shakes his head. It's a big head shake. It's a big suck in. You see your bite. So you can have an 8-inch hook length, which is probably my standard for big carp fishing.
Yeah.
But for me, F1 in, I want to get my shot closer to my hook to see that bite register quickly on the float. So I usually put them slot shot really kind of hook length. I usually put one on the hook length or use a 4-inch hook length. I think short hook lengths, you used to use really short, didn't you? I think
2 inch.
Did you used to hook in the loop it, didn't you, sometimes?
I've hooked in the loop it. I love it. I love hooking the loop.
Was hooking the loop because of the loop or because you put your shot close, do you think?
Both.
Right.
I think the movement helped.
Yeah.
Because the hook holes are amazing.
Okay.
And obviously having the shot that far from the hook. In fact, I might do a video on that when I can get back out on the bank, because funny story, me and Jake went to a venue a couple of years ago, and he'd never even heard of the hook in the loop because he was a bit before that.
Yeah.
It came a bit before sort of Jake got into it, and we went and they were catching these little carp like that, and there were them that had only just been stocked, and they were still eating your bait and sitting there because obviously they weren't scared, so you couldn't see the bites. And I said to Jake, I says, I know what these want, and I put the hook in the loop on it. It was just ridiculous.
Was it?
And it came flooding back to me. I was like, oh, this is brilliant. Like, why don't I do this anymore?
So it didn't matter. That was always seen as a bit of a pellet tactic, wasn't it? But it doesn't matter what bait you fish with, does it?
No, that was with pellets though. That was with expanded, yeah.
Right.
But no, it's a good tactic that is. But I think with F1s, 4 inches is a good rule, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But I like you. I've had them really, really close before, especially for smaller fish or for fish that have just been stocked.
I think it's a lot about balancing your rig as well. I think if you're obviously only fishing in 12 inches of water, you don't want a 4-inch hook length because your rig's unbalanced. So you need to bring it down. Same when you're fishing shallow. You want it. So if you're fishing down the middle, 4 inches, and if you're going to shallow water, then maybe try a 3-inch or even a 2-inch.
So we've talked about the rigs. Hang on. Yeah, go on. Carry on. So, because you're going to.
One thing I will say to people: don't be frightened to put a shot on the hook length. Like, people seem to have this phobia about putting a shot on the hook length. Put a stot on the hook length, you'll be absolutely fine. Yeah,
because we used to fish straight through up until maybe 10 years ago.
10 Silstar, I used to fish straight through everywhere.
So is that, and the stuff we're using now is really good for the kinds of the line, isn't it?
Yeah, but
rigs, that's that sorted. Make it more direct, bulk everything, tighter to your hook, weight wise, short line, dot your float down, finer floats, plumbing up, plumbing up, try and get as good as you can. But maggots give you a little bit more leeway with that. Yeah. Talk about the feeding of it, because carp, you can put, although it doesn't work all the time, but you can feed a lot of bait for carp and they'll turn up, and then you can maybe catch 2 fish off 1 load of bait, or you can wait 10 minutes and get your bite. F1s is totally different. It's far more reactive, isn't it? You have to be a bit more proactive for everything. And
yeah, I think especially with maggots, it's so instant, isn't it? And I think if you find the depth where the fish are happy to feed, you'll get bites straight away, whether you're putting 10 maggots in or 50 maggots in, if that makes sense. And I've had it so many times. Like, you can just from now on, you'll be able to fill a cad pot up with maggots every time you go out. You should be able to.
Yeah.
So don't be worried about putting a few maggots in when it comes to F1s.
I'm thinking more like venues such as Partridge, Tunnel Barn Farm, Lindome, those sort of places that are absolutely rammed with fish.
Yeah.
And usually, especially with maggots, if you're not catching fish, you're generally just doing something wrong, aren't you? So you need to alter your rig or alter your feeding. Now, if you're getting fish in your peg and not catching them, and obviously there's something wrong with your presentation. And as daft as it sounds, if you're just not getting fish in your peg, you need to think about your feeding, because it's nothing to do with your rig. You need to get the fish there in the first place. It's
the same when it comes to silvers. A lot of people are worried about catching loads of silvers when they're maggot fishing. And I'd say if you are getting bothered by silvers, then you're fishing in the wrong part of your swim, because when the F1s are there, they just bully the silvers out anyway.
And also, let's get right, the silvers in a lot of these places are
good fish.
8-10 ounce rudd or big roach or skimmers, or they're nice fish to catch, aren't they?
Definitely.
And I just think I love going somewhere with a load of maggots. We did a video, didn't we, at Tunnel Barn Farm?
Brilliant, yeah.
Did you fish pellets and I fished maggots?
I fished hard pellets and you fished maggots.
And I had to go back to the shop, didn't I, to get some more maggots?
And you caught loads of hide, and then you caught F1s later in the day.
Yeah, what a brilliant day.
Brilliant days fishing.
But anything F1 wise, it's sort of like this time of year onwards, it's minimum sort of 3 pints of maggots, isn't it? I'd say.
Oh yeah.
You need to be feeding quite a lot of bait, double maggot, inch over depth.
And then, yeah,
And
it's and then just work out your day. But
Yeah.
don't be frightened to feed a few maggots.
and get 2 blokes still if you're keeping it out at the end. if you get it right.
If you get it right, yeah. But pick a good venue. That's another one. You know your places, tunnel barns. You know, all them kind of places. But there's plenty of F1s to catch. Most venues have got them in now. Pick somewhere good to learn your craft, I'd say.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, that's interesting because there's another chap here, Tony, who's asked about depths, where to fish. And with the F1s, different species feed in different depths, don't they? Or they tend to sit shallower than other species or deeper than other species.
Yeah.
So the classic example is sort of like your bream on a natural venue will try and sit slightly deeper than your roach and your carp and all those species. Whereas F1s, they want to come a little bit higher and sit as close to the surface as possible, or at least above your carp. So you've got to take into account your species that you're fishing for. And then it's loads of that's about experience, you know. And you'll have done it when you were going commercial fishing all the time.
Yeah.
You just knew the depth. You'd look at the weather and you'd think, well, it's slightly overcast. The air temperature's sort of like 20 degrees. It's slightly overcast. Those fish are going to be in like 2.5 foot today.
Yeah.
And you'd be in tune with it all. I understand that's difficult to explain to people, but you'd be in tune with it, and you'd know what depths the fish were going to be at. And then as your day went on, you'd come shallower, you go deeper, just because you were in tune with it. But I always feel that you've got to be guided by the species you're catching. So if you were catching a lot of silverfish, maybe you want to go a little bit deeper, try and get some slightly bigger fish. If you're catching a lot of skimmers, then you need to come a little bit higher, try and catch your carp and your F1s.
Yeah, I think as well with F1s as well, that like when you're fishing in the edges and stuff like that for carp, and we're going to go into carp later down the edge. Someone else sent a question in. But whereas carp will come into the edge with an hour to go, 20 minutes to go, you can catch F1s in the edge from the start on most of these venues as well. So that's another good tip. You know, if you are going out to learn to catch F1s, try the margins to start with, do it at close range, learn about your fishing, learn about your feeding, where you can really read it and understand it. I think that's a big tip. Rather than just going the whole hog and trying to fish 15 metres to an island, do it close in, learn your craft, and then you can apply it into the other parts of your swim.
I don't think there's many F1 venues that get dominated by people fishing further than sort of 6 or 7 metres.
No, it's gone all that now, hasn't it? That used to be, I know when we used to go tunnel bound back in the Maven Pairs days, me and Adam Richards used to qualify most years from there because we were the only ones fishing to the island, but that doesn't work now. No,
it's about making the most of each part of your swim. 3 or 4 fish early down each edge, then go a little bit further, then sort of maybe catch shallow down in the middle of the match, and then back in your edges, isn't it?
So, but great fish to catch. Really are good fish to catch.
Yeah, I like F1s. To be fair, like you, I've been elasticating some top kits up, thinking as soon as we can get back out again, maybe Lakeview, Shearsby Valley, those sort of places. That's where we're going to be going.
Yeah,
I don't know about whether big matches are going to be able to carry on.
No.
So
I think we'll have touch wood. We'll be able to get out and do some nice summer carp fishing and F1 fishing.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm not too sure. Yeah, like I say, I don't think my normal big matches will be going headers readily as they used to be.
No, but there still should hopefully be some good fishing to be had this year.
Yeah, hopefully. Go on, talk about this margin chap then. The question.
Yeah, someone said he likes, he's a Leicester guy, and he goes to the glebe, and he just wanted to have some tips about edge fishing at the glebe. He mentioned ground bait, but obviously, because that was a famous ground bait venue, wasn't it? At one time?
Yeah.
But maybe it's gone away from that a little bit. Do you think?
I think ground bait. Yeah, I think dumping loads and loads of ground bait indefinitely, and I think a lot of commercial venues have gone away from that.
Yeah.
As much as obviously every bait company would love to sell 3 or 4 bags of ground bait every match, I just don't think that's happening anymore. Well, it didn't for the last couple of years anyway. So I think it's more of a softly approach and take your fish when they want to come into that depth rather than forcing them into that depth.
Yeah.
Now, I think there's baits that you can still force them there with, and probably the best one is micros. Soaked up micros. Soaked up micros, treat it just as you would ground bait. Micros and dead maggots is a brilliant combination. And go for sort of like 60% micros, 40% dead maggots, so the fish are getting a good idea of what's on your hook bait. Find, as a good rule in the summer, 2.5 foot is a brilliant margin depth for proper carp. And I'm talking sort of like 2-pounders to 10-pounders. That 2.5 foot is a brilliant depth. So if you can find a really nice flat area at 2.5 foot deep, ideally close to some sort of feature or close to a bit of straight bank, I think you've got a really good chance of catching your margins at some point during the day. And then it's up to you to judge the time of day. Because what you don't want to do is feed the peg before the fish are ready to get there. So I see a lot of people, maybe in the past it used to happen a lot more, the whistle goes for start and match, or people just turn up at a venue, big pot of bait goes in the edge.
Yeah.
Those fish aren't ready to come into the edge for maybe 4 hours. And during that 4-hour spell where you're waiting for the fish to come into the peg, there'll be silverfish, there'll be the odd fish that comes in for a look and scoots out of the peg because he's not happy about being there. That bait that you've put there gets distributed all over your swim, it gets wafted all over the place, it's gone, it's forgotten about.
Yeah.
So it's about judging your timings, and even if you're not fishing a match, your timing is, I think, crucial in all your fishing.
It's everything, isn't it?
A smaller amount of bait, judge when the fish get there, half a pot of maybe micros and dead maggots to start with, 3 or 4 dead maggots on a decent rig, see what happens. You know, and I don't think you need to feed it until they turn up. You need to feed it, maybe feed it again 2 minutes later, 3 minutes later, then drop in. You know, it's a
they're coming quick, don't they, Rob?
Yeah, they know what they're doing. They're waiting to come in. They're probably keeping more of an eye on you than you are on them. They know all the triggers, that just little tiny things like the seagulls started circling above your head and people catching more fish and the fish getting more aggressive, and just all those little triggers that I think every part of nature, all these, they pick up on it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, one to keep your eye on, obviously when the weather's warm and it's an edge day, often they're the best days for like mugging as well. And you see the fish, don't you? They're swimming up and down the middle of the lake, and you catch a few at the start short or something, then they'll swim up and down the middle of the lake, be really frustrating, and all of a sudden then muggers will just
have gone
away.
Yeah,
that is the time, isn't it?
That's the time to get in your edge, because they're the fish that have been cruising up and down looking for a bit of safety. Where we're going to settle, where are we going to settle? Oh, there's an angler here, I need to go somewhere else. And then all of a sudden they've gone, and that's when they've settled somewhere. And if you've kept your margin nice and quiet, not really touched it much, you've got a good chance of catching your fish there. And obviously they're massive fish, aren't they?
Yeah, a big lesson for me with that, Kate, man, it was you actually at Cudmore. Do you remember when we had the semi at Cudmore once, and on the Arena Lake at Cudmore? And I think I think you won the match. And I
was it during knockout?
Yeah, and
yeah.
It was during a knockout, and I ran the match that day and did photos and stuff. I always remember everyone was piling baiting down the edge, and I went up and sat with you with like 25 minutes to go, and I'm like, "Have you had to go in the edge yet?" He's like, "Oh, I haven't even fed it yet." Yeah. And you literally went in, put one pot full in. I've seen you do it, so I knew it happened. Yeah. And you literally followed it straight in and got one within like seconds. And I was like,
I caught a lot of fish on a method feeder, didn't I?
Yeah, and I was like, blooming hell, that's brilliant. And I'd never, because I'd always been a bit of a primer. Like I'd feed it 3 or 4 times before going on it.
Yeah.
And catch him, but I'd never seen it happen that instant. And I was like, ah.
Yeah. Well, the fish. Oh, I tell you what, I wish I'd have had damn results in a Fishermania final when I was on there. I had terrible days in those matches.
Different venue, innit? And
yeah, it was. But there was loads of carp in it there. And I remember Chris Van der Fleet or Gary Miller.
Probably Gary Miller.
I think it was Gary Miller. Gary Miller caught some fish, didn't he, that day?
Yeah, Andy Power did.
Andy Power. Who's the other one who went? Because it was a 4-man semi.
Was it? No, Jimmy Brooks didn't get through. I can't remember now.
Who was the other one? It was to my right in on the match lake first day.
Jeff Valance.
Jeff Valance, yeah. Jeff Valance caught some fish,
that was it.
4-man semi-final it ended up as, didn't it? 4-man.
Yeah, it was. That was interesting, wasn't it? But that with the edge fishing, that's the big fish for them when they're there. I know it sounds obvious, but it's not when you're actually fishing, because you're desperate to get in the edge, aren't you?
I know. And it's easy fishing, it's lazy fishing. My old man, he loves going in the margins. When he used to have that little tackle shop, he'd have obviously all the old bait. So he'd have a gallon of casters and he used to sit there with a top kit, maybe a top kit plus one, just throwing casters at his float in the edge. And maybe one day a year, he'd have a brilliant day. But the rest of the time, he'd catch nothing. And even when people started catching around him in the last hour, he'd still catch nothing. And it wasn't because he was doing it wrong in that last hour. It's because he'd done it so wrong for the 4 hours before.
Yeah.
And he'd just knackered his peg by And he'd said, I've foul looked everything in the last hour. So it's because you've got too much bait in your peg. You've had a gallon of casters.
He's done what these people in the supermarkets are doing, isn't he? He's stockpiled his peg up.
Yeah, he has, yeah.
We've all done it.
I know. We've forced it. Everyone's forced the swim a little bit too much.
Yeah, you know it, because then you go down there, you hook 10 in 10 chucks and lose half of
them. I've been there.
Many times.
Yeah.
Right. So that's that one. So take it steady with your bait, stick to micros, soak them up well.
Yeah, I think micros sit on the bottom a bit better than ground bait that just gets wafted around your peg. And try and feed a lot of your hook bait. So corn's a good one.
Corn's great.
But it's nice to obviously get as much hook bait in your feed as possible, because then the fish get used to picking it up as well, I think.
I'll tell you one thing as well, just one little tip is about the depth, what you said. That 2.5 foot's so key in it, because you can chase tails, can't you, in shallow water?
It might. Look, on the odd day, you might see the odd fish in a foot of water. Yeah. But if you're fishing for proper carp, I don't think there's many venues now where you go where the average stamping is less than £4.
No.
So a proper carp, £5 average, £6.
It's a big fish,
figures. It's a big fish. He's not happy in a foot of water. No. And even when he comes in that shallow depth, he's really on edge. Yeah. And you're going to end up foul looking him probably. So it's better to just fish from a little bit deeper and just make them feed a little bit more confidently.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, definitely. Right, the next one. Have you got any on there? What you've got? I've got a few.
No, yeah, you go on yours.
Someone wanted to ask about fishing the method feeder on silty lakes.
Ah, yes. I had this the other day in a question and answer video.
We have this quite a bit now, don't we? Because we fish quite a few venues that are quite silty.
Yeah, I used Boston as an example.
Yep.
Now, I know you're a method feeder guy, but on a silty lake, I'd probably use a hybrid feeder instead. I just feel that the presentation's a little bit better. I just feel you get, if the feeder does have a tendency to sink in to the silt, your hybrid feeder sort of protects the bait around the edges, and your bait can be still exposed to the fish. So I'd use a hybrid feeder rather than a method.
A light one.
A light feeder, as light as I could possibly use. That's another thing that comes in with shock leaders. When we were talking about shock leaders earlier, using a shock leader enables you to use a lighter feeder, because then you can use a lighter main line to obviously cast with. So I'd try and use as light a main line as possible, so I could use a lighter feeder as possible. Then I would monitor what's going on in the peg. So last thing you want to be doing is feeding loads and loads of bait, like ground bait, things like that, because it's going to be too wafted in the water, and it's going to cause the problems too fast. Whereas if you're fishing micros, maybe adding a few 4 mils in there as well, bait that the fish can actually pick up and clear your peg with.
Yeah.
I don't think when you're feeding a lot of ground bait to clear your peg, there's still particles still in the water, so they're still digging all the time looking for bait. So with pellets, you've got a bit better chance. So micro pellets, or maybe some slightly bigger pellets in your feeder. Monitor your peg. So on calm days, it's easier because you can look out, you can see your peg, and it starts bubbling, starts fizzing, and you get a load of issues with line bites and things like that. As soon as it starts fizzing up, you might think, oh, there's millions of fish there, I've got to keep fishing there. The trick is then just move maybe a metre to the side of all those bubbles. And I think you still catch those fish that are bubbling, because they'll just move a metre to the side and start feeding again, but you'll be fishing on some clean bottom. When you see all those bubbles, that's fish digging in the silt, getting excited, kicking up a load of silt. It goes pitch black down on the bottom. The fish can't find your bait. The problem gets worse and worse and worse because the fish get more and more excited. They get more, and all you'll get is line bites. It's the same when you're fishing a pole, same when you're fishing a feeder. As soon as you get all those fizzes, just move a little tiny bit to the right or to the left, or maybe further out or shorter.
Because fish love feeding in silt, don't they? It's just that we can't catch them. That's the top and bottom of it.
Yeah. So I think Boston's a key example of this, because when you have half the lake is sort of like you're chucking onto maybe some gravel, or a quarter of the lake you're probably chucking onto some gravel, and the rest of it you're probably chucking into silt, and
pretty
it's quite
deep
soft
silt,
bottom. Pretty deep silt, yeah. And that's a brilliant tactic at Boston, casting around your peg, fishing on some fresh bottom. Like you said, the fish don't mind the silt at all. They love it.
Yeah,
they've adapted to fishing it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
I know I used to follow like Jim Shelley, like the carp angler, a lot, and he wasn't even interested in gravel. Just wanted to
Right.
present on top of silt because that's where the fish like to feed.
Yeah.
And he used
Yeah.
to catch them, didn't he? He still does.
Yeah, no, they all do. The carp anglers. There was a trend quite a while ago for looking for some silt, so looking for gravel to present your bait on. But I think that was literally to present your bait.
Yeah.
Obviously, the carp. I don't think the carp mind feeding on gravel or silt. I don't think they care. But I think you've got more chance of them making a mistake on silty bottoms rather than on a
Is
gravel.
there anything you can do hook bait wise? Is it like a bright one or anything like that?
I think when you're in that situation, I'm not too sure fish's vision is helping. I don't think it really matters when you've got that situation on. Although I do remember a time at Woodland View, that 5 metre line was renowned for it. And everyone used to fish red meat as a hook bait, as a target bait. And I don't know whether that was just a bit of a trend at the time, because it doesn't seem to be happening now. But they used to do a similar sort of thing. You'd pot in some bait, you'd wait, you'd catch a couple of fish, your peg would start fizzing. If you didn't know what you were doing, you'd still fish there all day, and you'd probably foul up two or three more fish, and you'd have a bad day. But if you knew what you were doing, and I wasn't in that camp, I was the guy sitting there not knowing what to do. But if you knew what you were doing, as I worked out later, you just moved a couple of foot to the side, started again, and you'd get another 2 or 3 fish before it happened again.
And it's the same on the feeder, isn't it? Just work around them fizzes.
Yeah.
Because obviously it gets more now as the weather's warming up. It gets worse and worse, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
they get more active, don't they? The fish get more active. Did you see Nigel at Barston? He put some pictures of all the fish jumping out. Yeah. So obviously the fish are waking up and they're jumping out.
Well, that brings me nicely onto something. I was thinking the other day, how are the fish going to benefit? Like we know that Ferry Meadows, for example, has been needing a rest for a little while now. So do you think some of these natural venues will be like, take a deep breath, or do you think?
I don't think angling pressure helps, but I don't think it's too much of a problem on a big natural venue.
Yeah.
I think, take Ferry Meadows as an example. I think the fish have disappeared over the last couple of years, maybe the last 3 years. The fishing's not been as good as it used to be. I just think they've disappeared for other reasons.
Yeah. Because that's a unique scenario. It's not a unique scenario because there'll be other places like it, but it is a different scenario in the fact that the fish can come and go as they please, can't they?
Yeah, and I believe the fish at Ferry Meadows there's a few maybe fish that say residents Ferry Meadows, but I think probably at least 50% of the stock that are in there during the summer months on a good year have travelled for a long, long way, miles and miles and miles. And it's no coincidence that there's big bream shoals on the North Bank, which is however many miles away, 10, 15 miles away. And then not so many bream in Ferry Meadows. So those fish travel around. And I'm not too sure if someone catching them, putting them in a net, it doesn't help, but I don't think that's the problem.
No.
I think what you're going to get now is fishing your commercial venues that are pretty daft at least for the first couple of weeks, because they've not seen the summer tactics yet, have they?
No,
so
I think it'll.
You'll be able to catch them.
If I was a fishery owner and I wasn't worried about the financial side of things, I think I'd be quite pleased, because I think it gives the banks time to recover. They can probably do a lot of work on the fisheries. I think the fisheries will look tip top when we get back to them. They'll look amazing. So, and the fish.
I've seen quite a few fisheries, haven't you, doing work?
Yeah, which is great to see, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, obviously safely, but yeah. So I think a lot of these fisheries will be just having a nice little deep breath, reset button, isn't it?
I think so. A lot of the guys obviously live on these fisheries, so they're able to. It's their back garden. They're able to go out and do some work.
Yeah.
And
how jealous of you are Dan Hull right now? Having
Dan Hull
4 lakes in his garden.
Listen, I'm jealous of Dan Hull's lakes.
Yeah,
but
not
Dan
of
Hull.
Dan.
No, not of Dan. No one's jealous of Dan.
No,
but obviously it would be nice to have some lakes in your garden to fish every now and again.
Yeah, I'm jealous of him. Yeah. I mean, it makes up for him being really short, and that's coming from someone who's as short as I am.
With the face of a horse. It'd be lovely to get out there and do some fishing in your back garden. But I've seen Lavender Hall, Lavender Farm, Lavender Hall. He's been doing some work on the lakes.
Yeah.
Lake View, they've been digging some bays out. I think Lindholm have been doing some bits and bobs, haven't they?
Yeah, so Woodlands at first have taken all the boards out, so to make it like a totally new lake. It'd be good. I think, as hard as it is not to go fishing, and we all want to be out there doing it, I think it's like the old close seasons back in it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but obviously it didn't matter because you could still do some other stuff in the close season, couldn't you? But obviously now I'm hoping that, and mine and your kit, our kit probably won't be tip top because we're not that sort of angler. We're not those sort of anglers. But I'm guessing that when I go back out coaching again, everyone has got a rig tray full of rigs.
Is that what you're hoping?
Everyone's kit. That's what I'm hoping. Yeah, because I think everyone who loves their fishing
is on.
If there's not obviously, if you've got kids and you're still working from home, or it's probably your time's still taking up, but maybe people have not got so much to do. They've got a chance to refresh all the kit, and there's still a few companies offering mail order as well, isn't there?
Yeah, quite a few.
You can get your fishing bits and bobs from those places, and still tie up your rigs and get your rods made up and fill your reels.
Your internet's gone really shabby.
That's it.
It's just come up and said your bandwidth is low. It's been absolutely crystal clear up to now.
That's it. I think it's all right this end, but obviously, what do you think? All right.
Anyway, I can still hear you fine. So
yeah.
Right, so that's that. Another one, which is a big one actually, and something you've tried to sort of prove over the last with some excellent videos, is additives.
Yeah.
Someone's obviously wanting to know about additives and stuff like that. So go on.
Right, additives for me, especially when I'm method feeder fishing, I can't see why it's any different when you're pole fishing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a massive believer now in additives. I never really used. Well, when we were talking in our previous little chat about method feeder fishing, and
you had a secret additive, didn't you?
No, I had a secret additive anyway, but that was the main ground bait. But what I would do, I twigged it for, and I think it won me probably 5 or 6 matches at the time on a little run, and it was wasn't in the summer. It was when it was just getting a little bit colder. I had some salmon oil. This is before people, especially match anglers, really understood about oils and things like that.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what salmon oil was doing, but I'd catch my fish normally with my normal ground mix, and then it'd sort of drift off. So what I'd do then is I'd add this salmon oil to the ground bait, and what that does is it kick it on, and all of a sudden you had this next wave of fish. It was when everyone else's peg had died, you'd get this next wave of fish. Brilliant little flavouring. Now, I'm not too sure it was the salmon oil, and it had to be that particular flavour, and it could have been anything really, just as a bit of a change, just to kick it on again. And then, since then, I've never really relied on any flavourings, never really thought about them, just tried to keep my fishing really simple, tried to use simple baits, and tried to do things, just try and do things better than everyone around you. Because if everyone's fishing with maggots, or if everyone's fishing with pellets or meat, I just try to present it better, or fish in the right place, the right time, get my timings better. And I like to think that that's where I got my edge.
Yeah.
But as the years have gone on, a lot of us are feeder fishing with hybrids or method feeders. We're all using similar hook baits. We're all casting similar distances. A lot of the guys on the bigger matches can cast out nicely, read their swims. So you need to find that edge again. And flavourings, I think, for me, have done that.
Yeah.
Just given me a few extra bonus fish.
Yeah.
During the session.
Yeah.
And anyone that's not watched those, can you hear me? Yeah. Anyone that's not watched those videos that I've shot previous. Oh no.
No, you're all right.
Shouldn't be.
You're all right.
Yeah. Anyone that's not watched those videos that I've shot previously on my channel, I think they ought to, because it's just so conclusive, the difference between unflavoured and flavoured baits.
And even the difference between different flavours. Different
flavours. So these baits, I'll tell you what we've got down here. We've got the 2 flavours. So if I was, I know you've got your Sonu baits top on, but that's the one that I like to use a lot. That's the F1 Sweet pellet soak. So that's the one that I think, and don't get me wrong, I'm not the oracle on flavours. It's just that I've caught a lot of fish on that flavouring. So that's the one that I sort of go to now as a flavouring for all my carping. I suppose Boston, maybe Boddington, Larford especially, anything like that where you're fishing for match style carp on a feeder. That'd be my go-to sort of flavouring. But then on one of the videos, I soaked some in that swim stim, and then some with the old Robin Red, and then put the two contrasting batches of pellets together. Now I would think, because swim stim pellet soak is really, the F1 soak is really sweet, I'm going to catch a load of skimmers on that, and the carp are going to love this meaty style, fishy Robin Red flavouring. It was totally the opposite. All I could catch on the Robin Red was skimmers, and all I caught on the F1 pellet soak was carp. So even things like that blow my mind. But what it does prove is, one, that flavourings don't hurt, and two, I think they actually help. I think you catch more fish on the right flavouring when you've got that on your bait than on a plain bait.
Yeah.
Now, there's two ways of doing it. You soak your pellets with the flavouring to start with, or you dunk your feeder before you cast it out.
Yeah.
And you've got have you got bait? You've got, what is it called? Bait booster.
Bait booster, yeah.
Bait booster does that.
Things to it, yeah.
That's sticks to it, doesn't it? Chuck it out.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it, with additives? Cause
You're not a flavouring guy, are you?
No, I'll just chuck my little thing in. I'm big on additives for what they do to my bait. As in, I like to add. So my little girl's trying to get in. You need paper.
What have you done? Locked her outside. Locked her outside in the garden.
There you go. She needed paper, Rob.
Right, a bit of colouring.
Bit of colouring. Anyway, so my thing on additives, I have no doubt that they work, and they can improve your bait. They can do a lot of things. But I love how they can change how your bait works.
So you're thinking like a sticky flavouring makes your pellet sticky.
So I like a sticky liquid, for example. Look at this. Look.
What have we got?
They're doing painting.
Painting? What are we painting?
Roblet.
Oh.
What are we painting?
Hello.
Hello. What are you painting?
I can't hear him.
Because he's in there.
No. What are you painting?
Easter eggs.
Oh, you're making Easter eggs.
Well, no, there's this thing. If you do crayon, like draw the Easter egg out, and then you do watercolours over it, it resists. It's really good. It looks cool. Yeah. So that's what we're doing.
Oil versus water.
Yes, that's what we're up to.
Beautiful. That's the benefit of having a teacher at home doing it. We're resorted to sit in front of the tele. If you make a noise, you go to your room. That's what we're resorted to at the minute.
Netflix is now your parent.
It is, yeah. No, French. We're French. We're trying to talk in French.
Careful, don't touch that. Right, see you later.
Toodaloo.
Bye. Back to additives.
Yeah, go on. So you'd like a sticky flavouring to make your pellets stick?
Yeah, so if I'm struggling to get my pellets to stick, bait boost is brilliant. Just the drizzling of it just makes everything better. And I like how it can change the texture of my expanders as well, because I like to fish them on the method a lot.
Yeah.
A drizzle of that just makes them a bit rubbery. I don't know. It's hard, isn't it? I tend to prefer like a natural thing. If you get my drift, like a real good quality fish meal or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Rather than a chemically flavour, if that makes sense.
No, I'm totally with you. And I'm not really into it smelling like it's come from a factory. I want it to smell
natural,
like it's a proper food source.
Yeah.
But just when you go and do some things like that, and obviously, just when you go and shoot a video, you get a chance to test things out. So I thought it was well worth a test, and I was surprised. I wanted to almost rubbish it, really, but I was surprised, and it did make a difference. It definitely made a difference. And for anyone who's not watched them, I start with 2 rods cast at the same distance with different baits on, and then halfway through the session, I'll swap the rods over with the baits. Don't really need to swap the rods, I suppose. You could probably just fish the same distances, but I'll swap the rods over, different bait, swap the baits over as well to prove that it's not location.
Yeah.
Prove that it's the flavouring doing the business or not doing the business in some cases. And I think it's as scientific as you can get in a fishing situation. And I plan to expand on it a little bit as well, but I need to set a few things up. I'll probably try and make it a bit more scientific, but I don't, not fishing related. I'd like to do maybe tank test certain things and show people different flavourings. But yeah, flavourings, I think they make a difference. But you need to go out there and try them, and then stick to, just like everything else in your fishing, then stick to the ones that you know work.
Yeah, try and get your confidence.
Worst thing you can do is every time you walk into the tackle shop, buy something new, and you almost start from scratch then, which I hate that situation.
Definitely. So yeah, I think definitely have a play with it. Try and find one that people are into and using, and give it a go.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, I've got to go in 10 minutes. So should we just do one more? Have you got me one more?
I haven't got you one more. So what we're going to do, 10 minutes, we've been on for ages, Joe. So we want more questions. We'll leave it because I think we want more questions. We want everyone gagging for more as well.
Gagging.
And we'll probably come back in a couple of days' time.
Yeah.
Hopefully, with a load of questions down below. We'll pick a couple of questions.
Questions, guys.
And we might even have someone join us, but we'll see about that. Yeah. We might have someone join us. So
depends, doesn't it? Depends if they wimp out or not, innit?
Yeah, they might wimp out. I remember when we did our chat at Shearsbin, we had a guy who said he wanted to come on. He was going to put us right, wasn't he, about certain things? And we messaged him, and he bottled it.
He disappeared, hasn't he? I've never seen him again.
Yeah, he commented straight away on the video, and then he just disappeared.
Yeah,
can't remember who it was. Yeah. But yeah, if you want to get involved, mention that as well below. But if you've got a question or something that you'd like answering, or a subject you'd like to talk about, we've got. I know we have got a subject to talk about next time, which is really just a general fishing related one about getting youngsters into the sport. Mm-hmm. But I think that's too long-winded an answer, really, especially the way we waffle on about to answer that in 10 minutes. Yeah. So I think that's about it.
I think that's about it. I'm going to go get myself a drink, and I've got a big meeting this afternoon.
Have you?
Big meeting.
What is it about? Easter eggs? Painting Easter eggs?
It's about a lot of things Preston related. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
In good ways, though. In a good way.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course it is.
Obviously, we're itching, just like everyone's itching to get on the bank. We're itching to launch products, and obviously, this is a challenge.
It's a peak time as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Peak time for fishing that everyone's missing.
Everyone needs to just do the thing, don't they? Stay calm, stay positive.
Yeah. Stay safe, as everyone keeps saying.
On a final note, how are you eating?
I'm
eating like an absolute king at the moment.
I'm eating my breakfast. We've had a lemon drizzle cake in the house for about 26 hours now.
Yeah.
I had the last slice of that this morning.
Homemade?
Sally made a lemon drizzle cake. So beautiful. Lemon drizzle cake for breakfast. Then I had 2 toasted muffins. So there's a lot of bread. There's a lot of cake and bread involved. Half a packet of biscuits, 2 packets of crisps. That has been my morning so far.
Has it?
Yeah, and then later on I'll obviously start eating the chocolate and the...
Well, we had an interesting chat with Lee Kerry, didn't we, the other day, and he says he's done 8 Easter eggs so far, which I think is very impressive.
Yeah, that is impressive. That is really impressive. But Lee's a growing lad. He needs
a growing lad. We all are.
Extra,
we all are at the moment.
I'm trying... So I like to try and keep fit, but
difficult.
It's difficult to do it. Difficult to. I might start trying running again because I had problems. I smashed my toe, so I've not been able to walk properly for a couple of weeks. But I might start running if we're allowed out to go running. I might start a bit of running again.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm hoping that outweighs all the crap that I'm eating.
All the lemon drizzle.
She's made another one as well. I don't know what she's trying to do to me.
It's good, isn't it? I think they're making tiffin here today.
Right. Yeah, terrible, isn't it? Yeah, terrible.
Right then,
all right.
Questions.
Subscribe, everybody.
Guys.
Comment below. Hope you enjoy it. Let us know what you think. And until next time.
Toodaloo.
See you later.